Well, hello. I am Ricki Davis. I am the Prevention Project Coordinator here at Capital Area Human Services, and we'd like to welcome you to our first series of our Let's Talk with Capital Area, the East Baton Rouge Parish, as well as public health. We are delighted to be able to tell you guys a lot about what's going on within your community, as well as to be able to give you the services that can be able to help you as well. And we're going to go ahead and start off with our first speaker of the afternoon. Her name is Joi Plain. She is actually an employee of Capital Area Human Services. She's a native of Baton Rouge and is very passionate behind the services she's providing to our members of our community. She has a degree of sociology from Louisiana State University, and she's also has joined Capital Area with the Crisis Mobile Team. Over the years since 2015, she's advanced in getting her MSW, and that is very successful to be able to say she's so young and very vibrant and can connect with everybody within our community. So Joi, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and you have the floor to go ahead and begin our series.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am going to just jump right in. So like Miss Ricki said, this is our first Let's Talk, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be providing some facts and information about opioid addiction, treatment, and recovery. So first of what I want to do is I want to give a definition of addiction. And addiction is a habitual, repetition of excessive behavior that a person is unable or unwilling to stop despite its harmful consequences. According to Hazelton Betty Ford Foundation, addiction is often referred to as a substance use disorder, and addiction occurs when substance use becomes compulsive and behaviors become more erratic, irrational, with severe significant consequences. And those consequences can include legal issues, family issues, employment and occupational issues, and social issues. Continued with the definition, and this is from the American Society of Addiction Medicine. Addiction is a treatable chronic medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, genetics, the environment, and an individual's life experiences. People with addiction use substances or engage in behaviors that become compulsive and often continue despite harmful consequences. Prevention efforts and treatment approaches for addiction are generally as successful as those for other chronic diseases. So basically, what we want to deliver most importantly is that addiction is a brain disease. It is a disease of the brain. So when we're treating addiction, we want to approach it just like we're treating, let's say, a cancer diagnosis. We don't want to focus so much on the behaviors. We want to focus on the changes in the brain that occurs with addiction. So just really quickly, I want to run through the levels of use when you are, because, you know, persons, they don't go from use to addiction. You know, you have several people that they may use a drug and never become addicted to that drug or any other drug. Okay. So I want to talk about initiation. So that's like, okay, I used the drug with my friends, you know, never continuously used it. It never interfered with my education, my occupation. Experimentation. That's a little bit further. So that's like, okay, I might have used meth before. I may have used heroin before. I may have used crack cocaine before, marijuana, but I only used them when I, you know, went out a couple of times with my friends. Regular use is when you have more of like a pattern of use. So that would be when every weekend you're going to use drugs every weekend, or you're using drugs to alleviate or to induce a certain emotion or feeling. Problem use is when you start to get into the dangerous behavior. So that's like, I'm going to use even before I go to work, or after I get off from work, I'm going to use and drive home. You're causing more of a problem for yourself with the use because you could injure yourself, injure someone else. And then dependence. So dependence is when you have developed a tolerance for the drug. That means that there has been changes in your brain that your body has started to depend on this drug in order to function. And so when you may take the amount that you initially took, it really didn't have an effect on you anymore. You ended up having to take more and more of the drug in order to feel the same effect. And then last but not least, addiction. So addiction is when you see the withdrawal symptoms when you stop taking. So even though you may want to stop the drug, you can't, because when you do stop, you start to have severe withdrawal symptoms, or you start to use the drug, like I said previously, despite very negative consequences. You may be on probation and parole, and you know that you have random drug screens, but you still use in spite of. So, like I said, addiction is the disease of the brain. So, the disease creates distortions in thinking, feeling, and perceptions, which drive people to behave in ways that are not understandable to others. So a lot of times we focus on behaviors of persons who are experiencing addiction, but we don't quite understand that the behaviors are actually a symptom of the disease. And so it's not the person that's choosing to, once the addiction has set in, it's not the person that's choosing to do these behaviors. It's actually the symptom of the disease. The reason why it is so important, especially from a treatment standpoint, to understand that addiction is a brain disease is because recognizing it as an addiction and as a brain disease, as a chronic relapsing brain disorder, it characterized by compulsive drug seeking and the use can impact society's overall health and social policy strategies and help diminish the health and social costs associated with drug abuse and addiction. So, you don't have this push for incarceration and penal solutions. You have more of a treatment solution toward the addiction. So drugs alter the brain function. And so really quickly, just some real technical information. So when we have levels of dopamine that trigger feelings of pleasure, that we, our body normally secretes this dopamine. Well, when we take a drug, this dopamine is released in an excess. And so we feel this feeling of euphoria, which then triggers the reward systems, and it makes us want to do it again because we want to feel that feeling. But as we continue to use these drugs, our body starts to adjust to those elevated secretions of releases of dopamine, and the feeling is no longer as intense as it was the first time we used. So that's where the addiction and the compulsive use sets in, because we're constantly using to try to achieve that same euphoric feeling. And that is basically the changes in the brain function that happens with drug use. And so if you become addicted, the substance takes on the same significance as other survival behaviors, such as eating, drinking, and breathing. Really quickly, one of the best examples that I like to use to help persons who are supporting others in an addiction is because, like I said, we as a supporter may not understand what our loved one is going through. When you are underwater, you know that you need to hold your breath in order to survive until you get to above water and you can breathe oxygen. Well, if we cannot get above water, eventually our body is going to take a breath, whether we want to or not. And so when you use that same analogy when talking about addiction, that's that compulsive behavior. We don't want to use anymore. We don't like this life. We don't like what we're doing to ourselves and other people. However, our body needs this drug in order to feel normal again. So opioids is a class of drugs. And this class of drug includes heroin, synthetic opioids such as fentanyl, and pain relievers available legally by prescription, such as oxycodone, hydrocodone, codeine, morphine, and many others. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid. Statistics show that 80 times more potent than morphine, and that since 2013 has driven the steep rise in opioid overdoses. When you use opioids, your brain, the opioids attach to molecules on the cells called opioid receptors. And these receptors are located in many areas of the brain and body, especially areas involved in the perception of pain and pleasure, as well as a part of the brain that regulates breathing. So basically, when you use an opioid, your breathing is going to be decreased very, very drastically, and your pain level is going to be decreased. So short-term effects of heroin include a rush of good feelings and clouded thinking. These effects can last for a few hours, and during this time, people usually feel drowsy and their heart rate and breathing slow down very, very slowly. When the drug wears off, people usually feel feelings of depression. I'm sorry, I have to minimize something so I can see my slide. I'm sorry. Experience feelings of depression and often crave the drug to regain that good feeling, because like I said, it's that feeling of pleasure. So when, as clinicians, we have ways that we help individuals to identify if they, have if they have a use disorder, abuse disorder, or if they have actually entered into addiction. So one of the things that I want to talk about is, like I said earlier, some people may use several drugs and never enter into addiction, but then you have some people who do. And this is a good explanation of why that happens. Basically, every single person is susceptible to addiction, okay? So nobody is excluded from that. However, there are individuals who are at a greater risk of developing an addiction. And these are the factors that we consider. So we first want to look at genetics. So that's your biology, your gender, ethnicity, presence of other mental disorders may influence the risk of drug use and addiction. If you were raised by parents who were addicted to drugs, if you were exposed to drug use at a very early age, the earlier you are exposed, the more likely you may develop substance use and addiction. Environment. So that's where you look at your surroundings, or a person's surroundings. Do you hang with friends, or do you have family who use drugs? Peer pressure. What type of environments are you in? If you have experienced physical or sexual abuse, so exposure to drugs and stress, all of those things matter. And then last but not least, the development piece. So development is basically putting the environment and the biology together. So how did your interactions with genetics and environment, how did those coupled together affect you as a whole? And how do those things make you more susceptible? So one thing I want to point out when talking about development is there are areas in the brain that control decision making. So the earlier you start to use drugs, the more susceptible you are to developing an addiction, because those areas of your brain are not fully developed yet. And please, at the end, we're going to have a question and answers opportunity, because I'm going fairly quickly, but I just want to make sure I get this information out. So treatment approaches. Treatment goals when we are treating addiction, especially opioid addiction, is to approach it with a comprehensive model. And what that means is we want to make sure that we address the person as a whole. So physical health, mental health, and your substance abuse health. So treatment goals would be to, of course, stop using the drug. If you want to learn how to stay drug free, and you want to help the person to become productive in the family, in the workforce, and also in society. So treatment options. So individual therapy, family therapy, group therapy, couples therapy, medication. So when we are treating opioid in particular, there are medications such as Suboxone that can help individuals to manage their withdrawal symptoms after they stop, manage withdrawal symptoms and to control cravings so that their risk of relapse kind of decreases for them, and it helps them to stay and do outpatient treatment as well. Evaluation and treatment for co-occurring and mental health and medical issues is also very important. Long-term follow-up to prevent relapse. So you always want to make sure that you have some faith-based or secular peer-run support options as well for long-term recovery. And levels of care, really quickly, we have inpatient, so that would be a residential 28-day or up to 6 months to a year, depending on what level of treatment you need. And then you have long-term would be 6 months to a year, short-term would be 28-day, 1 month. Intensive outpatient treatment would be the outpatient piece where you are going to a mental health clinic or a physician, or and you are receiving either medication management and also group therapy, individual therapy, family therapy, those therapies I mentioned earlier. And the medicated assisted treatment, you can receive that inpatient when you are in detox, and you also can do long-term medicated assisted treatment with Suboxone as well. So I touched on this already, but I'll just go through it really, really quickly. So we want to talk about the medications that can manage withdrawal, prevent relapse, and treat co-occurring. So you have psychotropic medications, you have the medicated assisted treatment, which would include the Suboxone, that coupled with behavioral therapy, so individual therapy, family therapy. And then you have Vivitrol as well that can be used for long-term preventative management for opioid recovery. Last, so we want to include the treatment. We want to include the family in the treatment, and that's the big piece with comprehensive treatment model, because recovery is a process. It is not something that happens as soon as you detox off of the drug. Okay, recovery is a lifelong process, and so the goal of recovery is to improve health and wellness, live self-directed lives, and strive to reach your full potential. So 4 major dimensions that support recovery is health. So you want to make sure that you have a primary care doctor so you can get preventative care and also get a full workup and blood work and screenings to make sure you don't have any untreated conditions. And if you do, go ahead and start getting treatment for those. Want to make sure that you have a stable place to live, a safe environment to live. Purpose, help to have independence, learn how to manage your finances, and get resources when needed and available. Community, what kind of friends are you surrounding yourself with? What type of activities are you doing? Are you making sure that the activities that you're engaging in are not those that are commonly coupled with drug use or alcohol use? You want to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with friendship, love, and hope. And I want to give the definition of hope because that's really the nucleus to all of this. And the definition that I want to provide for you is hope is the belief that these challenges and conditions can be overcome. And that's what it's all about, because we all have challenges. We all experience hardships in life. We just have to learn how to live through those without using drugs, and understand that we're not alone in facing these hardships. So the process of recovery is supported through relationships and social networks. This often involves family members who become the champions of their loved one's recovery. Families of people in recovery may experience adversities that lead to increased family stress, guilt, shame, anger, fear, anxiety, loss, grief, and isolation. So it's very important that the whole family has a support network. This concludes my presentation, and it's a perfect segue for Miss Gwen.
Right. Thank you so much for that information. That was very, very valuable. If you guys have any questions, we're going to hold those questions to the end of our presentation Next, we're going to have up Miss Gwen Knox. She is going to speak on the family support portion of that, which is very valuable in dealing with someone that is a drug user or a family member that's dealing with someone that's a drug user. So Ms. Gwen Knox is a grief recovery specialist here, natively originated from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She's part of Capital, has been a part of Capital Area since 2018, and she was asked by Capital Area to start a grief recovery group. And since then, she has taken her level of showing the world how to deal with grief in a different light. So, Ms. Gwen, you have the floor.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Do you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good, great. Let's get started then. Okay, first of all, greetings to all of you and thank you for being here. I'd like to give a special thank you to Vivian Geddes for asking me to present today. During the past 5 years, since the death of my middle son, Brian.
Hi, Ms. Gwen. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but can you turn your camera on and go ahead and start sharing your screen? I'm having trouble turning it on for you.
Okay, let's go back to this right here then. For some, let's see, bear with me.
No worries.
All right, I'm not getting the option to go and, let's see, hold on just one moment. I am not getting the, let's see right here.
Do you see where it says start video?
Well, I've done that, but I'm not getting the option at the end of the bottom of the Zoom to start the share. That is not coming up no matter what it is that I'm doing. So please bear with me for just a moment here. Okay, here we are now.
No. There we go. Hello.
Hello, everybody. If you know me, you know that I blame everything on age. So I blame that on my age. So let's try to get this thing started. Hold on just a moment. We share the screen. Let's try to minimize this. Okay, here we are. Okay, so
wait, when you hit share screen, there should be another window coming up and then you'll hit share again.
Well, it's
okay. We've all been Zooming for the last year. We can all, technology is grand.
okay. Please bear. Do you see
just see if I can pull mine up?
I have it up. You want me to do it, Jessica?
Oh, that'd be great.
I mean, can y'all see it?
Yes, just put it into the view presentation.
Well, you know it is in my browser.
Okay, so tell me what it is that you guys are seeing now.
Well, right now we're looking at Don's screen. If you can go ahead and start, Ms. Gwen, with the presentation due to time and just use it from your screen and you can just let Don know when you're ready to move to the next slide, or I can share from my end as well.
Okay, hold on just one moment. I have no idea what is going on.
Yeah, because you did it earlier.
Yeah, and I did the same thing and I'm seeing it. It's just that you guys are not.
That's okay. You want to
Okay,
just,
well, anyway, well, apparently it wasn't supposed to. Let me just go ahead and give this presentation or we're going to be here all day. So thank you very much for bearing with me as I try to do this for you. During the past 5 years since the death of my middle son, Brian, in December of 2015 from substance abuse disorder, I've had a tendency to always say yes when someone asks me to speak on this topic. So I said yes because it gives me the opportunity to share with you the knowledge that I acquired after Brian's death. But what it is that I wish to be able to do for you is to share that with you also. And so what my goal today for you guys is to be able to have that knowledge so that you are able to make healthy choices for yourself and also for your loved one with substance use disorder. So time is not going to permit me to share with you everything that it is that I want to share, but I will not leave you hanging because I will give you where you need to go in order for you to have the information that you need to make your choices. Now, I came across a quote that reminds me of kind of where I am now. And it said, "Grief carves a place in the heart and sits there forever. But when focused, it can be a powerful motivator. Sadness becomes resolved and pain becomes action." Well, my actions were twofold since the death of my son. The first thing that I did is that I came across this group after Brian's death. And that group was parents of addicted loved ones. As I researched that group, it was everything that I wish I would have known while Brian was still alive. And so I continued to go back to it. I was going through a grief group at the time. After I finished the grief group, I decided to contact parents of addicted loved ones. I went through the training and became a facilitator and brought the group to Baton Rouge. It was the first time that the group had been in Louisiana. And the second thing that I came across was that it was the grief recovery method. I am this person who will intellectually deal with the grief of my son, but I had not emotionally dealt with the grief of my son. And so what this did is that it gave me the opportunity to go and dig down into the crevices of where it was that I had stored all the pain and emotions from my son's death and be able to bring that up and deal with it in a safe environment, non-judgmental, where I could deal with really from the beginning of Brian's life until the end, as I worked through all of that. And so when I finished that, I was able to, it was like a freedom. It was like a burden that had been lifted from me. Now, before I go into the PAL lessons that I want to discuss with you today, there are 6 things that I want every parent of an addict to know and be reminded of. The first thing is that, as Ms. Plains was saying, addiction is a disease. And the second thing is, you did not cause your child's addiction. You cannot cure your child's addiction. And it is okay to hate the addiction Just don't hate the person with an addiction. And the fifth thing is substance abusers is not the only one affected. The whole family suffers from the addiction. Seek help and support. And the last one is please know that you are not alone. Speak up, ask for help, and be honest. Now, a little bit about parents of addicted loved ones. It is a nonprofit organization and it is free to all. It is faith-based. Its mission is to provide hope through education and support to parents of addicted loved ones. And its vision is to make PAL meetings available to all parents of addicted loved ones. There are 2 books. I'm really so sorry that you guys cannot see this. But there are 2 books that we use in the PAL meetings. The first one is called The 4 Seasons of Recovery for Parents of Alcoholics and Addicts. And that book is by Michael Speakman, who is the creator of PAL. And then the other book that is used is Smoke and Mirrors. And that one is by Karen Franklin. So there are about 14 different educational components to PAL. And I'm just going to briefly highlight a couple of those components. The first one is delayed emotional growth. Adults are expected to act responsibly, develop common sense, and gain wisdom. They have an awareness of behavioral consequences, both positive and negative. Actions of our addicted loved ones, however, are not those of responsible adults. They appear to live according to the emotional age, not their actual age. So a common cause of the delayed emotional growth is the abuse of alcohol or drugs during a person's developmental years, which will be from childhood to the 20s. So suffering from addiction and delayed emotional growth at the same time can lead a person to feel hopeless. Addiction and delayed emotional growth create resistance to change. Although addiction can eventually be diagnosed, delayed emotional growth is challenging to identify. So one of the other lessons has to do with helping. When we're helping, are we helping healthy or is it unhealthy? Now, when we are unhealthy, we are caretaking. How can I help you? We are doing for others what they can do for themselves. And our behavior is like, how can I fix this? How can I protect you? How can I rescue? How can I control? How can I carry their feelings? And we have a tendency to not listen, because you see, the thing about us as parents, we think we know because we have been parenting for so long. But when we're dealing with the disease of addiction, there is knowledge that needs to be acquired so that we can make healthy choices. So on the other side of that, caregiving, it is how I can encourage you to help yourself. I encourage, I share, I carefully confront. I am sensitive, I listen. From my example as a parent, I figured I knew. I had been parenting all of these years. I had been a tough love mother. So I thought I knew. But the one thing that I did not know is that what I was dealing with was a brain disease. So my approach would have been different. It would have been to empower him rather than trying to dictate to him or manipulate what it is that I figured that he should be doing. And a lot of what we do is done out of fear. And so our behavior, emotions, and our relationships and everything would be different when we have the knowledge that we need to deal with this disease that we're dealing with. Now, what I want you to do, this is for you only, is that I want you to answer yes or no on a piece of paper as to whether or not you have been enabling. So I'm going to read them to you. And I want you to just answer yes or no. So the first one is, have you ever covered a financial debt that is the result of behavioral dysfunction, or drug or alcohol related? 2, have you ever called in sick or made excuses to his or her job or school? 3, have you ever not called the police after the person was physically abusive? 4, have you ever let the person come live with you because he or she ran out of money? And 5, have you after repeatedly running out of money, have you continued to loan the person money? 6, have you bailed a person out of jail for an arrest connected with drugs or physical abuse? 7, are you afraid to confront the person about their behaviors for fear of violence? 8, are you afraid to confront about their behavior for fear they will leave you? 9, do you act as if you believe their excuses even when you know he or she is lying? 10, do you sometimes think it's okay for you, the person behaved the way they did? 11, do you prefer not to talk to anyone about the problem because you're ashamed? 12, do you allow the person to come back to the house after being physically destructive? 13, do you make excuses to your children for the person's behavior? 14, do you threaten to leave the relationship and then not follow through on leaving? 15, do you pretend they are sick when they are really coming off a binge? Next, have you ever obtained drugs for the chemically dependent? And the last one, do you ever take drugs with the chemically dependent so you can be together? So if you answered yes to 2 or 3 of these, you have been enabling someone, okay? So what I want to do now is I have a call to action for you. And that call to action is for you to acquire the knowledge that you need in order to make healthy choices for your mental health and to help your loved one in a healthy manner. Now, when I said that I wouldn't leave you hanging because I could not share everything that I wanted to in today. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to the PAL website. It is everything that you could possibly need to deal with a loved one who has substance use disorder. The website is PAL, P-A-L group.org. I want you to select resources. And under resources, I want you to go to family. There are videos, audios, there's printed material. You can watch a PAL meeting to see if it would be something that you are interested in. And so the next thing that I want you to be able to do if you are grieving is to go to griefrecoverygroup.org. griefrecoverygroup.org. There is just a litany of material there for you. Now, for those who might question the fact that addiction is a disease, there is a video that you can watch called Pleasure Unwoven by Dr. Kevin McCorley. And this will show you how drugs affect the brain and show you the changes that it makes. I'd like to thank you guys so very much. I'm so very sorry that we had these technical difficulties, but hoping so very much that you were able to get some of this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Gwen. Again, you guys, we're going to hold all our questions into the end. We are so thankful that you guys are here with us to be able to share this information out within our community. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next portion of the presentation. And I am going to begin to share my screen so that we can get started with that. Oh, well, thank you. Let's see here. All right. Well, I am Ricki Davis. I am the Prevention Project Coordinator here with Capital Area Human Services. And I do have my coworker and my colleague, Ms. Trudy Wickham. She is with the Office of Public Health. I've been with Capital Area since 2019. I've been with the state of Louisiana since 2016, and I am part of the LeSOR 2.0 grant to be able to provide education in the world of prevention to you guys. Ms. Trudy, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Trudy Wickham. I am the Opioid Prevention Outreach Coordinator for Region 2, which is our capital area region. I am working with the Louisiana Department of Health, Office of Public Health.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide, which is going to go through our Narcan demonstration. We're going to go ahead and tell you how Narcan could be very successful and helpful to you and your family members, and also how you can get some Narcan for yourself. So you can go ahead, Trudy.
Yes, I'm going to start off by talking about the signs and symptoms of opioid use. Some of you all may have remembered a campaign back in the Reagan, when President Reagan was around, and his wife said, just say no, just say no to drugs. Well, I want today for us to say, just say KNOW. I want you to know the signs and symptoms of opioid use. First of all, the physical signs. You will notice a person that they are usually just even keel, but they are now just having this euphoric experience. That's because the dopamine, as Joi mentioned earlier, has elevated. They also have marked sedations. They may at sometimes become very drowsy. You may find that they're up, and then now that they're down, they're very drowsy. Confusion is another physical sign. You want to look at the pupils of the eye to see if the pupil is constricted. You may also notice some slow breathing with this person or with yourself. It is another sign of this opioid use. You also may have intermediate nodding off or loss of consciousness. You may be in a conversation with someone and all of a sudden they're just out. That is a sign that's not normal. That's a sign that you want to pay attention to. And persons who may take opiates will experience or may experience constipation, and that's not fun. And so we want to make sure that you as a loved one use all of your senses. We want you to make sure that you watch the person, you observe, you listen, but you also add another sense of empathy when you work with them. You also want to notice the other signs that this person may participate in. They may have a prescription for an opiate, and that prescription has expired and the doctor's not refilling it. Well, then they may start doctor shopping. They may go to another doctor to see if they can get more prescriptions. You may also see a shifting in their moods. They're happy one moment and then they're sad another moment. You also may notice in your medicine cabinet or even your trash, you're finding additional empty medicine bottles. You also will find that sometimes they used to be all involved with the family or with their friends, and then now they're very isolated. They're withdrawing from their loved ones because they don't want to be noted as someone that might be using. They don't want their secret to get out. And then there may be experiencing where this person is now starting to borrow money. They're having some financial problems. They're in debt. So there's so many ways that you can look at the signs and symptoms. Next slide. Okay, so we want to also recognize opioid overdose, and that's a part of where Narcan can be so beneficial. The person will not wake up or respond to your voice by touch. You call them, you've kind of tried to wake them up and they're not coming around. You may see breathing in a slow, irregular fashion. They're not breathing normally. You, again, watching the eyes, you will see a pinpoint pupil of the eyes. You want to look at their fingers, and you want to see that the fingernails may be discolored. And also there's a slow heartbeat or slow blood pressure with this particular person. Ricki?
I am here. Well, thank you so much for that information. We was having some technical difficulties with the presentation, I think, because of my two screens. So I'm going to try to enable that one more time for you guys. And hopefully if that doesn't work, we'll be able to go from there. Can y'all see my screen now?
We see you.
Oh, you see me? No, they don't want to see me. I'm trying to see this presentation. Let me see. Let me try one more time on this side. All right. All right, I have the sound on. So right now what we're going to do, you guys, we're going to show you a Narcan demonstration video, which will be very helpful for you guys to be able to use for your family members. It's still doing the same thing. Let's see here. What about now?
We just see you.
Okay. Don't know what's going on.
And I promise you, guests, we did this before you guys came on. We practice. Technology can get kind of crazy.
Yes, that's right. Well, we're going to go ahead and go show you the Narcan video. Narcan is very, very important that you guys can be able to use. I have some here to show you guys can see me, along with the demonstration here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video. Hopefully that portion will show, and we can kind of go from there. So let me stop sharing and go back to it. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
All right, good job.
Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. As with any drug, you need to be aware of important safety information concerning its use. Please see indications and important safety information at the end of this video. Also, please see accompanying full prescribing information in the use of this product. Narcan nasal spray is an emergency treatment for a known or suspected opioid overdose. The appropriate use of Narcan nasal spray can help you save a life. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. As with any drug, you need to be aware of important safety information concerning its use. If you encounter someone who is unresponsive and you suspect an overdose, first shake their shoulders and shout their name.
Kevin.
Ask if he or she is okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Check for signs of an overdose, unresponsive to touch or voice. Breathing is slow, uneven, or has stopped. Snoring, gasping, or gurgling sounds. Fingernails or lips are blue or purple. Administer Narcan nasal spray as quickly as possible if someone is unresponsive and an opioid overdose is suspected, even when in doubt, because prolonged respiratory depression may result in damage to the central nervous system or even death. Lay the person on their back to receive a dose of Narcan nasal spray. Remove Narcan nasal spray from the box. Peel back the tab with the circle to open it. Remove and review the printed quick start guide inside the package. Hold the Narcan nasal spray with your thumb on the bottom of the plunger and your first and middle fingers on either side of the nozzle. Do not press the plunger to test or prime the device. If you do, you will waste all or part of the dose of medication. Tilt the person's head back and provide support under the neck with your hand. Gently insert the tip of the nozzle into one nostril until your fingers on either side of the nozzle are against the person's nose. Press the plunger firmly to give the full dose of Narcan nasal spray. Remove the device from the nostril after giving the dose. After you have given this medication, seek emergency help right away. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care.
I'm with somebody who stopped breathing. I think they've had an overdose.
Move the person on their side after giving Narcan nasal spray. If possible, put their hands under their head and bend their upper leg forward. This helps prevent the person from rolling onto their stomach. This is known as the recovery position. Continue to watch the person closely. If they do not wake up or respond to your voice or touch, or if they do not seem to be breathing normally within 2 to 3 minutes, use a new Narcan nasal spray to give an additional dose in the other nostril. Acute opiate withdrawal symptoms may occur from use of Narcan nasal spray in patients who are opioid dependent. Symptoms include body aches, diarrhea, increased heart rate or tachycardia, fever, runny nose, sneezing, goosebumps, also known as piloerection, sweating, yawning, nausea or vomiting, nervousness, restlessness or irritability, shivering or trembling, abdominal cramps, weakness, and increased blood pressure. When the emergency is over, put the Narcan nasal spray back in its box and throw it away in a place that is away from the reach of children. In addition to watching this video, please read the quick start guide that comes with Narcan nasal spray before using it. Talk to a healthcare professional if you have any questions about how to administer Narcan nasal spray. Please read the indications and important safety information that follows. Store Narcan nasal spray at room temperature between 59 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 25 degrees centigrade. Do not freeze Narcan nasal spray. Keep Narcan nasal spray in the box until ready to use. Protect from light. Replace Narcan nasal spray before the expiration date on the box. Keep Narcan nasal spray and all medicines out of the reach of children. Indications. Narcan, naloxone hydrochloride nasal spray, is an opioid antagonist indicated for the emergency treatment of known or suspected opioid overdose, as manifested by respiratory and/or central nervous system depression. Narcan nasal spray is intended for immediate administration as emergency therapy in settings where opioids may be present. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. Important.
All right, you guys. So that video is about 7 minutes and 26 seconds. However, I'll stop it at 4 minutes and 40 seconds because the most important portion of that has already been discussed. It's not an emergency. It is for an emergency use, but it's not going to be used for you to not take that person to the hospital. How many, by a show of hands, you guys can use the chat box? How many of you guys can use some Narcan in your home to help one of your family members, or even for yourself if you have a friend that you think will overdose in front of you? You can just use the chat box to say, you know, I or me, or if anything like that could be helpful. And you guys, I can't see the chat box while I'm on my side. So right now, as far as with the Narcan, you know, you guys can see that they show you how to use the Narcan from the video that we've already went through. And what's expected after the administration is for you to take the person to the hospital at least 30 to 90 minutes after the Narcan has actually been given to them. We don't want them to be able to, not have any medical services there afterwards, because it will be very important for their health for them to be seen at that point. We know we have some questions that we want to get answered as well, but we wanted to also let you guys know about our upcoming events that we have going on. Here with Capital Area, we're going to do another Let's Talk series on next week, which will be on the 15th of April. If you haven't already registered, you can do so at the link on the website from the EBR. And we wanted to also let you guys know that it's okay to ask for help. As you see up on the screen here, I have our, it's okay to ask for help from Capital Area as well as the Office of Public Health. And this information is going to be very valuable for you guys to be able to keep and to have and stored in. So if you want to take a screenshot of it, please do so right now. And we're going to go ahead and open our session up for questions because we're running short on time.
Hi, Ricki. I'm sorry. Can you in that slideshow and try to open it in full screen mode so that our viewers can see a little bit more clearly the information that you're showing?
Okay.
So under slideshow at the top.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So share screen, and then under slideshow, you can say view from current slide.
Can you see it now?
No, I think you stopped sharing your screen.
Okay, hold on, let me try now.
From current slide, perfect. And so, oh,
Still did this.
Okay.
I don't know, but we can go ahead and answer the questions. I'm gonna have to stop sharing in order to see any questions that come across on the chat box.
I just shared, one person mentioned that they were looking for some Narcan. We will be at the Goodwood Library on the 18th of April at 3 p.m. So if you are local, you can come there and we will be able to assist you with Narcan. And you can also, in the chat box, there's Ricki's email address, and you can email her directly.
That's correct. We do have Narcan available, which we will have the Let's Talk series. If you guys have not seen the flyer, we're going to have something on the 15th of April, the 18th of April, which is a Sunday. And also you'll be able to kind of utilize the services that we're offering here. I'm not sure if you guys can see this screen or not. I don't think you can. Yeah, so our next series will be on the 15th, and then we have one on the 18th, which is a Sunday, and the last one will be on the 29th of April. So please sign up, and you guys can take advantage of all of the Let's Talk series that we have so we can help our community become better. So far, do y'all see any questions out there? I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see if I see anything. Yes, we can email the slideshow as well. And we're going to stop recording if you guys have any personal questions that you do not want to have recorded, that we can have Ms. Joi and also Ms. Gwen to be able to answer. Ms. Joi and Gwen, can you guys come back on?
Ricki, Joi had to leave to go back to the clinic. So
okay, Gwen, are you still here?
I am.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Gwen while she's here? The presentation will be sent to you guys, as well as there's going to be a survey at the end of the presentation, which we already put the link out there for you guys to take advantage of. So please take the time to do the survey for us so that we can see how we did. That way we can see what changes we need to make and see if the information that was provided was very valuable to you guys. And if no one have any questions, I want to go ahead and turn it over to our Prevention Director, Ms. Vivian Geddes. Ms. Vivian?
yes. Hi. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, we know that the opioid epidemic is impacting many, many families in the community. So this information is helpful for families that are impacted by the opioid crisis. Please don't hesitate to contact Capital Area Human Services for treatment services. And also, as we mentioned, we will be providing Narcan kits free of charge to those who need those. So again, we want to thank the East Baton Rouge Parish Library for helping us to host this event, providing the technical format, and our speakers from today, Gwen Knox, Joi Plain, Trudy Wickham, and Ricki Davis. Thank you so much. We look forward to your participation in the other Let's Talk series.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and sign off. This video will be available on YouTube as well as on the East Baton Rouge Parish Facebook page. So if you know anyone that can use the information, please be sure to share the information with them. Until next time, we'll see you guys on next Thursday at 12 noon. Thank you.